Welcome to the Steelers Depot live stream here on this Monday, January 8th. I am Alex Kozora. As always, joining me is Bryan here to answer your Steelers questions for the next hour as we are celebrating the postseason inclusion of the Pittsburgh Steelers as they beat the Baltimore Ravens, got the help they needed, and are the 7th seed going to Buffalo on Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Dave, how you doing? Thanks for being here.
Happy Monday. Thanks for everybody who showed up. Looking forward to watching this national championship game tonight and finishing out, running through the all-22 film that dropped earlier today from the Ravens game, and excited to do a playoff version of this live stream tonight.
Maybe our first one ever. I don't know how long these have gone back. Obviously nothing last year from a playoff perspective. So excited for that. Excited you guys are here with us. Again, answering your Steelers questions for the next hour until 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Please like the video. Please also subscribe to the channel. Check out the site SteelersDepot.com. Got the news of Damontae Kazee officially being activated from the suspended list. Pittsburgh getting a roster exemption for him, meaning he does not currently count against the 53-man roster, although presumably if he'll play against the Bills, he will have to get put on the roster at some point with a corresponding move. You guys could also, you don't have to, but if you want a guarantee of your question being asked and answered by Dave and myself, you can send us a super chat and you'll move to the front of the line. No obligation, but we appreciate them all the same. So let's dive on in. I see 53 people already here in the chat. A lot of questions lined up. Let's start, Dave. First question comes from B. Eric McDay. Could we move James Daniels to center this offseason? Dave, I've gotten this question a couple of times, especially recently. What are your thoughts?
You could. There's obviously no rule against it, but I would think the best path to probably take with him would be to leave him at right guard and just go ahead and draft a center. That would be the way I would go. Now, I have not even looked at the center class or the guard class or anything like that. To my understanding, the center class is pretty decent this year, just from seeing some stuff on Twitter and all like that. But I have not verified that myself. You could obviously do it, but I would think that the path you might want to go, if you could, is to try to draft a young center and go from there.
I'm with you. Find that long-term option as opposed to trying to move guys around and then probably having to find a right guard unless you really trusted Nate Herbig that much to be that option over a full 17-game season. Daniels has gotten comfortable at right guard. Keep him there. He's played pretty well at that position. He's also not played center in quite some time. Not saying he couldn't do it. Maybe it's natural to him. I'm not quite sure. But just go find the center as opposed to trying to move a bunch of pieces around and still having to fill in roster spots. Mike Adesso, our friend, says, "Hi guys, happy playoff season. We made it. What a wild year. Indeed it was. With Minkah Fitzpatrick and Damontae Kazee back in Rowe's emergence, how would you best use Patrick Peterson now? I think he kicks back outside and Wallace loses reps." Yeah, it's a tough one. There's some flexibility. It's a good problem to have. I would still prefer Peterson to play primarily as the nickel in the slot, especially if Gabe Davis were to play. He's got the knee injury, but he's a speedster. Him on Peterson is going to be an issue. Will still be an issue for Wallace, but Dave, what are your thoughts? Because I don't know exactly how they're going to handle with the safety group getting healthy.
Yeah, that's going to be a one to watch. And look, we don't know for sure yet. Obviously, you hope to get Minkah Fitzpatrick back. We'll have to see what happens with Kazee, being as he has a roster exemption. If you look back at what they, with Kareem Jackson, they had a one-game roster exemption with him. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out with Kazee. We do not know the length of the exemption just yet, but yeah, if you get some speed on that outside, they've got some talented receivers over there, right? And Peterson doesn't run like he used to, and they're going to be. You would think there's going to be opportunities, or you would think that Buffalo's going to want to stretch the field at times. The weather could play a big factor in this as well too. If it's windy, the ball's probably not going to be up in the air as much. I'm with you, though. I think I would like to see him more in a sub-package situation with Peterson, and then you just take a stick and bite on it when you have maybe Levi Wallace on the other side.
I do think it's some of those obvious pass situations. Minkah Fitzpatrick will be manning up on either Dawson Knox or Dalton Kincaid, one of those two really athletic playmaking tight ends that Buffalo has, similar to how he matches up on Mark Andrews whenever he's healthy and they're playing Baltimore, which will, basically have him as a cornerback slot type of role, and that could still allow Patrick Peterson to play that free safety spot he's occupied in Fitzpatrick's absence. So I still think he'll play some free safety at the least. How much and how much corner does he play? Is it outside? Is it inside? Does he play outside in base? I'm less sure of, but again, it's good that there are some options because this team has been really thin and not really had the options for the last 3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
Michael Wu says, stat of the weird. We love our stats of the weird. All 3 quarterbacks have been the starter, backup, and number 3 inactive at some point. That's a really good point. Can something be said about the coaching staff's ability to evaluate their players? Well, some will say they've not evaluated them properly based on Pickett's lack of progression, Trubisky's struggles, and Rudolph taking this long to become the starter. But I think what it says is Pittsburgh has always valued their quarterback depth and experience. And you've seen teams go through 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks around the NFL over the last couple of seasons. And Pittsburgh probably had an opportunity last year to trade Mason Rudolph if they wanted to, and they probably didn't have to bring him back. Obviously, they did not have to bring him back this past May, but they did because they value the depth top to bottom, even if they probably took a game and a half too long to turn to Mason Rudolph. So you can't have too many talented, experienced quarterbacks in that room. This year proved it.
Yeah, boy, you look around the league, what happened at the quarterback position, and the Steelers are notorious for the most part, except for a couple years ago when they traded away Josh Dobbs, right? Wasn't that the year that they traded away Josh Dobbs and they had 2 quarterbacks to start the year, and then Ben got hurt?
Yep,
but outside of that, this has been a team that's notorious for carrying 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. And if you learned anything this year, that's probably a good idea to go to do that moving forward. Now, I'm a big fan, and I've talked for a while about, I sure would be nice to see the league, add a couple more roster spots, active roster spots. And if you did that, that would obviously maybe facilitate the league having more teams with 3 quarterbacks across the league. But look, they're damn lucky to be in this situation. You got a guy that's your number 3 that had game experience, has done enough without question these last 3 games to win. And make no mistake about it, they had to win these 3 games, and they've done that. And you'd have to figure that they're gonna. It's now Mason Rudolph or bust, barring injury the rest of the way.
Hopple Mop says, did Rowe earn the starting spot next to Minkah over KZ? So asking who will be the starting strong safety in this game. We presume Minkah will start at free safety. I think he has, Dave.
Recency bias, man. What have you done for me lately? And Rowe has been a guy that's filled in nicely. So yeah, I think you roll with Rowe right now.
And if not him, then who? Casey's more of that free safety type. He's a hitter, but they have not really used him as a strong safety box type of guy. Peterson obviously is not that guy. Right. Neal, I assume, is not coming back at this point. You have Killebrew. I mean, if it's not Eric Rowe, unless you were to have Minkah basically wear that strong safety hat and then Peterson remain at free safety, you could do that. But I think with the way the Tomlin's talked up Eric Rowe, they're going to give him a chance to at least start and play and have some sort of significant role in this game.
Yeah, and even if they open up, but we'll see what happens on Tuesday. I suppose they could open up the window if he's healthy enough to do so on Neal. But there's no way, it's hard to imagine him being activated back this week anyway. So I think it's going to be Rowe and Minkah out there.
Even from a conditioning standpoint, he's missed 6 weeks. I wonder what happened, because it seemed like he was okay after the game. He spoke to reporters, had the rib injury, and then we've not heard a peep from him other than 2 weeks ago, Tomlin saying he didn't consider it season ending, but here we are. The season's over. He didn't return. So I don't know. I don't know what happened with Keanu Neal, but I hope he's okay. 101 people here in the chat already. Appreciate that, guys, so much. A lot of intrigue here for the postseason push. If you guys could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site you see on screen, SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate that. Jonathan Mason says, finish the sentence. The Steelers win Sunday if Dave, fill in the dots.
Run the football well and don't turn it over. Period.
That's a good formula. That's how they've been winning. I'll say if Josh Allen has close to a 1-to-1 ratio of great to terrible plays in the sense of he's going to make some plays on Pittsburgh. There's no question about that. With his arms, with his legs, it's going to be a couple of moments where you throw up your hands and say, nothing you can do about that one. Just Josh Allen being Josh Allen. But can you also get the bad Josh Allen where he's too reckless with the football, turns it over, makes that just terrible decision in a marquee moment, similar to the Dolphins game. Obviously, Buffalo won that one, but something that allows you to be competitive and close and try to win the final 5 minutes. If you can do that, you got a real chance at this thing.
Yeah, your best option. He can't make plays against you if he's not on the field.
Sure, and that's where running the ball becomes extremely important for Pittsburgh, generally speaking, but especially against quarterbacks like Josh Allen. Mike Adesso, I'm usually not so negative, but please tell me why I should not fear the Bills game going like last year's beating. Our secondary may get destroyed, especially by their tight ends and having no TJ. It's a valid concern. We're not that far removed from 38-3 last year. Granted, that was Kenny Pickett, his first start. We presume Rudolph will start this game. Weather should have an impact as well. That was a sunny, beautiful game. This one, the weather may impact the passing game overall. So it's understandable, but I think this team has grown from where they were last year. There's a better identity offensively. They're running the ball a whole lot better than they were at that point last season. The quarterback play is different. Those are all clearly, changed factors.
Yeah, Trey Norwood start that game too, didn't you?
Oh, God, did he really? I'm trying to think back.
Remember that 99-yard to Gabe Davis that Trey Norwood was
shallow on, right?
Bit down on and all. And now the second, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the second Gabe Davis the one that was in Minka's hands and Gabe Davis took it away from him in the end zone? But I think your starting secondary in that game was Levi Wallace, Cameron Sutton, Arthur Millette, Minka, and Trey Norwood.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a different looking secondary.
And you had Devin Bush at inside linebacker in that game. And I mean, this defense, you had didn't DeMarvin Leal start that game?
Yeah, he did. He was playing off-ball linebacker for a couple of snaps in one of those blitz packages, and you have much better outside linebacker depth this year to handle the Watt loss than you did. You had Malik Reed and those guys playing in that game last year. And
you didn't have Watt for that game, right?
Right, he was out. But I guess to Michael's point, he's saying, well, Watt was out that game, no Watt this game. Is your pass rush going to get home? But the pass rush, I think, will be stronger than last year without him because Golden and Herbig are much better than Malik Reed and Jameer Jones and the guys they were turning to immediately after Watt went down last year.
Look, the Bills are on fire right now. There's no two ways about it. They're running the ball well, and their biggest bugaboo on offense is whenever Josh Allen makes the mistakes more than anything. And I think for the losses that defense has had this year, look what they did to Miami in that game yesterday there. So I mean, it's look, that spread is 9 to 10 points for a reason. Obviously, just the betting public plays into it and all like that. But there's a reason they're heavily favored. But I think Mike Tomlin's probably going to be reminding them boys several times this week that nobody thinks that they can win that game. And we'll see what the weather is, how much of an equaling factor that is. And once again, I think the Steelers got to run the football well, possess it. Certainly can't turn the football over, and got to hope Josh Allen doesn't make those Josh Allen kind of plays that he tends to do a couple times a game.
Unless he's making the bad Josh Allen plays he makes a couple times per game. Jason Morgan with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Jason. He says, which unsung hero should Faulkner Sullivan utilize on offense more against the Bills D specifically? Connor Hayward, Calvin Austin, other? I hadn't watched enough to really get a great feel for the answer. It's probably going to take more than just one guy, but can you have maybe just one particular play that's maybe a constrained play, something new that you can show Buffalo for whoever that may be in a critical moment? That may be the ticket. So do you have any thoughts about one kind of X factor offensively?
I mean, it just kind of, a Calvin Austin, you'd like to maybe see them try to get him an opportunity to get the ball in his hands out in open space a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about designing 12 touches for him a game, but can you get the ball to him? You have to think too that, and once again, depending on the weather, they're probably going to see them try to take away George Pickens, right?
Sure.
Probably going to be as you stated on the podcast, they're going to play. They're probably not going to rotate a whole lot of personnel in this game because because what they can do with their with who's the kid in the slot,
Teron Johnson.
Teron Johnson there, but you're going to have to think that they're going to be a little bit mindful of where Pat Freiermuth is and try to make. And at the same time, they're going to know that the Steelers are going to want to run the football. So, but they can't do all that at one time, right? You can't cover everybody all the time there. So if you want to talk about one outside the peripheral type guy that you might try to get the football in his hands a couple of times, I would say maybe Calvin Austin and see what you can get there if you can get the ball to him out in space a couple of times.
Yeah, I wonder if you're Pittsburgh, do you go with the heavy personnel and see if Buffalo stays in nickel or kind of force them in base? They got some of those inside linebacker injuries. Milano's been out for months, and Dodson got hurt in this game. I don't know his status going forward, but you try to test maybe the big people up front and take somebody like Johnson off the field. So I wonder if that's what you lean on given the weather, Pittsburgh's personality, etc. But I think it maybe was more about a play in a particular moment, a play call, than it is going to be maybe that one particular person, but we'll see overall. Got a comment here from G, just the letter G, says, kind of funny how similar the 2020 Steelers are to the 2023 Eagles. Pittsburgh 11-0, collapsing. Eagles were, 10-1, collapsing. We'll see how the Eagles story gets written out here against Tampa Bay on Monday night. But yeah, certainly some parallels between the two.
And how I don't think the A.J. Brown injury is season-ending, right? But is he going to make it back this week?
Yeah, I think the prognosis was better than it looked, but I don't know his status for Monday.
Right. They certainly have been struggling.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
David Kapoor is a big fan of your intro on the podcast. Davey says, playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? He said later on, love starting the podcast with the Moore quote.
Yeah, that was from a listener that we got to that email early in the show. I thought I'd reward everybody there with some Jim Mora.
AJF says, did Mike Vrabel get the keys to the city? I don't know about that. He got some Permane brothers sent his way, so that's maybe a good second best gift to have. But we thank former Pittsburgh Steelers player Mike Vrabel for the Tennessee Titans pulling off the upset and helping to put Pittsburgh in the playoffs.
Yeah, like I had said a couple of times this past week, man, that press conference of his during the week that we caught there had you wanting to run through a wall there. That guy had that group ready for and look, that was potentially Derrick Henry's final game, and Tannehill definitely probably not going to be there next year. Wanted to make sure he got an opportunity to make a statement, and they came ready to play. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think your point about Derrick Henry is a great one. That's his last game. He knows it. Organization knows it. That's why he signed autographs for hours after the game. He ran for $150 something. He knew this is the last time he'll ever wear a Tennessee Titans uniform, and he ran like it. So that was as big as anything.
And that Tajay Spears provided some pop for him too.
Yeah, he's a fun back out there in space, the rookie. And I'm just casually, as we're talking here, a bit of a sidebar, seeing the Panthers seemingly request interviews for every single potential front office member in football. I wonder if Andy Weidl's going to get a call, just given the Pittsburgh ties. I know that Tepper wasn't there whenever Weidl was hired, but I wonder if we're going to hear some Andy Weidl getting requested for some GM jobs here pretty soon.
I would imagine as part of the cycle, we'll probably be writing about his name.
Yeah, and Carolina, I mean, literally like 10 names have come across in the last 20 minutes, so we'll see if Weidl is included in that there or somewhere else. All right, Kevin Shoup says, over under Josh Allen turnovers at 2.5. What are you taking? It's a good one. Pittsburgh's defense, they've been, I think, they've not allowed the big plays at the rate they were earlier this year, and they've not maybe had the turnovers they were creating this year, but they've done a better job of that with the splash plays down the stretch. So they're there for the taking. Pittsburgh can make them happen. I don't know, Dave. That's tough.
I'd
2.5.
take the under
Yeah.
because I'd be happy if they got two. To be honest with you,
2's what it took to beat Baltimore.
So if you set the over under at 2.5, I would take the under and hope that it just misses.
Yeah, and maybe get two. One in the red zone. Pittsburgh's been a great red zone defense. Maybe one on a short field. I think Pittsburgh, not to sound like Mike Tomlin, but they need a turnover, but also on a short field. It gives Pittsburgh a real chance to put up points in quick fashion. All right, what else do we have here? And thank you guys for being here. Please be sure to like the stream. Thoughts on Rowe helping out in nickel packages? I think he'll play. I think he could still start at strong safety, and then probably still be an asset out there in nickel. But again, there are some options. There's some flexibility, and those are things Pittsburgh have not had. I think someone like a Miles Killebrew and maybe to a degree a Chandon Sullivan are going to be the guys that lose playing time based on the safety group getting healthier, more flexibility for Peterson. I think Casey will be great in that dime 60B role, and that's going to curtail some of the snaps that Killebrew and maybe Sullivan were seeing.
Right.
What else do we have here? Did that guy that attacked the judge in Vegas look like Troy jumping over the Titans O-line onto Collins? I think Kerry Collins had tweeted about that and made a pretty funny remark. Yeah, that's out your way, Dave. Is that guy?
Yeah.
I was going to say free agent.
I think he was back in court today. I think I saw something on Twitter because I follow a couple of obvious Vegas accounts and all, and I think he got attempted. Was it a murder? A protected government official or something like that. But boy, that was a scary moment for that judge.
Yeah, I'm glad that she seems to be okay overall. But yeah, that was the internet certainly had their fun with that clip. Josh Miller says, Jonas on the Friday show who was struggling to name DCs who've had a rise like Mike McDonald at such a young age. I got one, Mike Tomlin. Heck, you look at all the last 3 Pittsburgh Steelers head coaches, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin, young defensive-minded coaches who got their chance, but that's a great point, Tomlin. He was a one-year DC. People kind of forget that. One-year DC, relative unknown name, gets hired by Pittsburgh, beating out Russ Grimm, Ken Wisenhunt, etc., and that was the start of the Tomlin era.
Yep.
Andrew Samuel says, draft an absolute monster, or excuse me, draft an absolute mauler of a center, move Broderick back to his organic position at left tackle, and put Chooks back at right tackle, maybe draft another right tackle. I don't think Okorafor is coming back next year, Dave.
Not at that number. No, they're already mad enough that they paid them all that money to stand over the sideline all season.
Yeah, and they need to run the ball, and Okorafor is not a run blocker. I mean, he's been okay, but the extension was always a bit curious because Okorafor was never bad, but how good was he? Was he a guy that you really wanted to build around for the next couple of years? So that kind of felt like a deal where, I don't know if they were just worried about, we don't want to have to plug that hole. We got to try to replace other spots upcoming. We want to make sure that right tackle's relatively secured, but it was a curious extension at the time.
Yeah, a little more than 60 days left on the roster for him.
Yeah, that's for sure. Dean Horvitz says, Najee has impressed me so much lately. What sparked this great streak? I mean, he's been that type of runner, going back his whole career, but I think the O-line getting a push up front and just this team really kind of buying into their identity, figuring out who they are, who they want to be, and executing that is really what it's come down to.
Yeah, execution, man. They run the snot out of the split zone on the tape against Baltimore. And Connor had a great game, didn't he? Connor Hayward, man. That stuck out. I thought in the run game, Broderick did well. Sayamalo obviously did well in the run game. Darnell Washington, I think, had a good game as a run blocker in this one as well. Najee did a real good job, especially when he hit it. Obviously the things that didn't go well for him, which really isn't his game, is when he starts getting east and west, right? Those are when those negative plays cropped up for him. And really, Jalen, I think Jalen had a couple these last couple of weeks as well, too. But when they get their timing down, especially with the split zone and with the power, and Najee's able to just run straight. But there was a couple times he ran right up the back of a car. He was going forward, man, on a couple of those runs, ran right up the back of Mason Cole on one. Who did he run up on the back of? Maybe Daniels on another there, but he's running hard. Both of them are running hard. Both of them are getting yards after contact, and it's good to see. And that's the kind of football that this offense is going to have to play if they're going to make any noise in the playoffs.
There's an edge to this group that wasn't here earlier this year, and you kind of feed off of that when you get some traction, and one good game turns into another good game, and you build up some confidence, and you're really feeling that right now, and this team knows, okay, this is the path. We're proving that it's working. Let's continue to build off of that, and let's really try to, out-muscle and punish and overwhelm opposing defenses.
If they block that toss-up right, they get pretty good success with that,
Yeah, it's been really good. That's why the rain was kind of made it an issue, because their toss scheme, the Kozora toss, crack toss scheme has been really effective, a little harder to do in the rain. They kind of modified things a bit. And to your point, you mentioned, Dave, the tight ends have been blocking much better. I mean, Connor getting after it, Darnell being the guy that he was drafted to be, even Pat Frymuth running his feet, finishing blocks. So when your tight ends are getting involved and they're really adding on to what your O-line is doing, you become a complete running team.
Yep.
A lot more questions here about the safety situation. Jonathan Stevens, would you start Rowe or Casey this week next to Minka? And where does Eric Rowe fit into the equation? That's from 4TL Music Group, kind of addressed that. I think Rowe is going to be the starting strong safety in this game.
Yeah, and once again, pay attention, and we'll have it up on the site and all like that. It'd be interesting to see how long of a roster exemption they get with Casey, because another thing to think about, how much special teams was Casey playing before he went down? Do you remember?
I'd have to look. It's not much. Might be a little bit on a unit, but he's not obviously a core guy.
Right, and if Thompson's healthy, is he a better special teams option? I would imagine so.
Yeah, he's done some, but I think he went. Who's going to be your dime backer? I think having Casey as that dime guy, that 6DB, is going to be of real value. I think you finally get this guy back who was playing significant snaps for you before. I think they're going to find a role for him somehow, some way.
Right, and how banged up is Rowe? He obviously went back into the game, so you want to definitely make sure you have your bases covered.
Yeah.
If he's a little bit dinged up.
Mr. Jimmy Dean 1, hey guys, we're going to the dance. Yes, the Steelers are. Question: with Herbig on all special teams, should Golden start and just use Herbig as a situational rotational piece? Nah, I mean, you got to get all these three guys working, and Herbig's fresh.
Rotate them on. Yeah, you got to. You could probably take a handful of his special team snaps off of him. Maybe, but if you do it right, you should be able to rotate those three guys around and probably not impact Herbig. Here's the thing: you don't want to play a lot of special teams. Don't punt.
Yeah.
Don't punt a lot. That'll help limit some of those as well there. But and we talked about that this morning on the podcast here. I think you got to find a way to mix and match those guys and rotate sides. The good thing is all three of them can play both sides. I think Herbig is a better overall pass rusher at right outside linebacker. I think Golden is a better run defender on the right side, and obviously Highsmith has experience on both sides as well too. So I would expect to see those three guys with Highsmith probably getting a higher snap count. But you can mix and match those guys.
Yeah, they're going to need more than one guy to replace TJ Watt. They're going to need scheme. They're going to need the guys that they have there. There's no question about that. And I get the point about limiting special team snaps. Listen, the Bills had a 95-yard punt return for a touchdown against Miami, so you better have some guys that can make plays on special teams. Herbig has been that guy. You might not want to shift those guys around, put new people in that role, because you might end up regretting it. Got a $2 super chat from Tim M. Thank you, Tim. Says, when is the Steelers Depot app coming? It's on our list. I know it's been on our list for a while, but in season, Tim, we're pretty busy with in-season type stuff.
Yeah, sorry about that, Tim. It's just so hard to get stuff done in season and all. And maybe we'll when Alex and I meet after the season, we'll look into that once and for all here. I'm trying to look at special team snaps here for Casey. He he's played as many as 12 in a game this season. So he definitely could give you something in that aspect there.
And he told reporters
in every game that he's been in this year, he's logged at least 2 special teams. And the only reason he logged 2 in that final game because he was ejected from it, right?
Right, and I think some of that's field goal block. I think that he's on, but some of that might also be some kick return, coverage type action.
He does kick coverage and punt return.
Okay, there you go. Let's see what else we have here. John Penning
and field goal extra point block.
Yeah, field goal block. Yeah, Mike Odesso quickly says it's amazing how 3 wins in a row quiets down those culture problems and locker room concerns. Yeah, they do. Winning. It may not be the cure, but it certainly masks whatever issues your team is having, and it gets the heat off some of those subplots.
It sure does not hurt.
That is for sure. John Pennington says, hello, Dave and Alex. Are you guys concerned about the offensive line and pass protection not picking up the blitz and defense not being able to defend the middle of the field? It's probably fair for both. I think the pass protection has been better in terms of picking up blitzes. I thought Moore and Jones have had their issues defending the edge, especially in recent weeks. But I think in terms of IDing stuff and adjusting to some of those more exotic looks that have become in vogue, Pittsburgh has gotten better. And then defending middle of the field, and Minka coming back certainly helps. But yeah, I mean, the inside linebackers are still hurting. The tight ends for Buffalo are fantastic, so it's a concern.
Yeah, they let up a couple of free runners in that game against the Ravens too.
Yeah, you talking about like the likely touchdown and that type of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything that just wasn't completed where there were some free guys? Like the Seattle game, there were some receivers running free that Gino just missed.
Haven't gotten that far into it yet.
Okay.
I was looking mostly at O-line in the run game first trip through.
Gotcha. Faceless Man says, Levi and Peterson swap on Davis. Does Porter travel with Diggs? Yeah, I expect Porter to be on Diggs throughout most, if not the entire game. And then from there, we'll see how they want to divide up the outside cornerback reps.
Yeah, you got to give him a little bit of help too with Porter, but I expect Porter to be on Diggs.
Yeah, and I think he's excited and recognizes the matchup. And listen, it's become old hat. Like he shadows a top receiver. That's just now kind of a given for most situations. What else do we have here? Do the Steelers let Mark Robinson loose and let him ball out? That's from 007. He balled out against Baltimore. Sack, forced fumble. I think he's still limited as kind of a base guy downhill when he's got to move backwards and laterally. You get some issues, communication above the neck type stuff. But when he gets in a line downhill, he'll pop you.
What did he play? 9 snaps in that game?
I forget the exact number. I don't have my charting pulled up, but he made him count.
It was 13 snaps for him.
Okay, and I think all in some of their base. He even had some 3 inside linebacker packages in that game, which was an interesting wrinkle. All right, what else do we have here? We have a $5 super chat from Chilla21. Thank you, Chilla. I'm seeing if you had a question. You had a comment that we held for net back last year against Tampa. I don't know if I see a question, though. And it says, is there a chance we sign both Jalen and Najee? I mean, that's a down-the-road question, Dave. Do you want to address some of those types of things, though?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, you got a decision by May of whether or not to pick up the 5th-year option on Najee Harris. Now, might this team decide to go the route that Carolina went a couple years ago before even getting to that? And when they, I think, signed Christian McCaffrey to an extension, that's one route you could go there. If they don't go that route and just go straight up 5th-year option, then probably not going to see a deal with him if it gets that far. I mean, nothing says. I mean, you could still obviously put the 5th-year option for him and on him, and then go from there. But I think what you do if you decide to pick up the 5th-year option, that's where you leave it there. But if you get in this off season and you want to go ahead and start the clock running on extension for him, then go ahead and do an extension with him before the 5th-year option decision. So I don't think you'll see an extension on him, but it could definitely happen. Once again, you could see something similar to now, obviously not the dollar amount that a Christian McCaffrey got, but that is an option there. As far as Jalen goes, there's no reason to really. I mean, you could, as the CBA states, with those restricted free agents, they only have to play 2 years before eligible. But why not just let the restricted route play itself out? And a year from now, maybe make a decision on him, because you will have the option of placing restricted. Either way, in his situation, it's easier. It's a lot easier to cap him because of what he's up against. You can take his 2024 salary and say, this is what you're scheduled to earn now. This is what you would on a second year restricted tender, if it got to that. This is what you would earn here, and then you could easily work backwards with him and his agent, knowing that they're capped that way. My gut right now tells me that you won't see an extension for either one of those two.
Okay. Fifth year option on Najee. Have your thoughts changed at all in recent weeks?
I mean, it's a what would Dave do and what would the Steelers do?
Sure. What will they do is how I'm approaching this question.
They like Najee.
They do.
And once again, that fifth year option amount would, the only drawback to that is it's fully guaranteed and it's for 2025. Right. So, but at least it would. You're gonna piss him off if you don't pick up that fifth year option.
Yeah, I think so. I'm leaning towards stay. I've kind of gone back and forth on this, and obviously mid-season that wasn't looking very promising, but I think they will pick it up, get him for 5 years, and evaluate from there.
He's not going to be a happy camper if he gets through. And look, to his credit, which is it's hard to find for someone that stays on the field for every game, is out there, has not missed any games, and to give you the kind of hard running that he gives you, and that kind of thing. I mean, that to his credit, his availability has been there for this team. So, and we know that stuff last off season with him and the other running backs getting upset about the market, and he's not going to be a happy camper if you don't give him an extension or you don't pick up that fifth year option. So, if you want to look at it that way, the hell with what Dave thinks. If you want to, I would tend to think that the team is trending toward picking up his fifth year option.
And we'll find out by May when that decision comes due. Vegas TJG says, would you be happy if Sierra's husband is quarterback 1 starting next year? That, of course, is Russell Wilson. Nope, I really don't have the interest in Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I'm sure it'll be talked about. It's already been talked about a lot and probably will continue to be. Randy Wagner, actually, before that, Faceless Man says, how about putting Casey at free safety and Minka be the strong safety? That's a thought. You could do that.
Yeah. You think, when Minka coming back from that injury and all like that, and I mean, you could do it. I'm not sure I would.
I'm just really curious for their plan for Patrick Peterson in this game. I don't know, because he has played pretty well at safety. The tackling has been an issue, but we all can, I think, hopefully agree he's on the fly, unexpectedly, to make that full-time transition. He's done a nice job communication-wise and just, competency standpoint.
And look, it's a different view,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and he's been a corner for a long, long time. So, it's an adjustment to make. I think he's made it pretty well overall. Again, I think they're going to mix and match. I don't think it's going to be you're here and you're there and that's all. That's black and white. I think there's going to be some varying shades of gray in terms of roles and hats in this game. Give them different looks. Randy Wagner says, Dave and Alex, were you able to watch the Titans-Jaguars game yesterday? If so, what were your reactions? I think we both were able to watch it. We found the time, Dave, to watch this one. And pretty intense. Got pretty close. That 4th and goal, I was holding my breath. And they stopped
that
Lawrence
was a
short.
key point. Yeah, key turning point of the game right there for sure. Yeah, once again, I thought the Titans the Titans came to play, and nothing. Kudos to like I said this morning. The NFL does a lot of things that I don't like, but kudos to them for having divisional games the final week of the season. Because even if teams are out of it playing a team that's in it, that's in their own division, there's no. Did you hear Shannon Sharp talk about that the other day with Ocho on that what they call it, nightcap or whatnot?
Mm-hmm. I did.
You know what? Shannon's great on that show.
Yeah, and he had
He
that
is
interview with Cat
great.
Williams that's gone mega viral on his other show.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but and Shannon Sharp with anybody else, I could kind of take or leave. But when him and Ocho are really just kind of talking about football, and I think he's really good on that. And him and Ocho Cinco were talking about that. Look, there's no better feeling of, hey, if I got to go home and go to Aruba, you're going to go to Aruba, to something along those lines. But Tennessee came to play.
Got a $2 super chat from the Pit Stop, who says, "What two current Steelers would you like to meet the most?" I don't know, Dave. Do you have any? I really don't have that kind of lens of who I would like to meet or have dinner with. I don't really have that kind of lens in my analysis hat anymore.
Yeah, I don't either at my age. I'm just thankful to get out of bed every morning where I'm at. But I can't say that I have a list as far as that goes.
I know we spoke with him over the summer, but I think a dinner with Dick LeBeau with us, Dave, would be aces.
Oh yeah, man! I'd like to be locked in a room he wouldn't like it. But,
yeah, let's not phrase it as a hostage situation. Let's make it a volunteer scenario, Dave.
Right. Okay. If I could get in to volunteer to be locked in a room for me for about 2 hours, I wouldn't mind that. With Dick LeBeau, pick his brain on some things.
All right, a fellow Alex says, and I'm surprised that it's taken 45 minutes to get to this point, but here's the question. Could these reports of Tomlin possibly taking a break be a negotiation tactic for his contract extension? That's Jay Glazer, Adam Schefter, not reporting, but speculating, hinting, whatever you want to call it. Maybe Tomlin, if he chooses to come back to Pittsburgh, maybe he would like to take some time off. I don't see it as a contract ploy. They want to give him an extension. That's been, I think, pretty well documented by PFT and places like that. He's well paid. I don't think Tomlin has to leverage and strong arm Art Rooney into giving him more money.
Yeah, I don't see it as that either there. And, the only thing that really sticks out in all this, and Alex, you talked about this morning, is, Jay Glazer, has a pretty good relationship. And I think, who was it? Pat McAfee this morning on one of the shows said something along the lines that those two have been out drinking. Those two spend some time with each other during, I think, the off season or whenever. So the fact that Glazer's kind of hinting about it does make your ears perk up a little bit. But all that said, man, Mike Tomlin just loves the process, and I think he loves every bit of the process, and he's still young. I would find it a little bit surprising if Mike Tomlin just said, look, I want to take some time off. But, I mean, we'll see.
I would as well. And maybe, I'm sure during that losing streak, it's tough. It weighs on you. It's stressful. It's heavy. And people were openly, in the public mainstream view, talking about Tomlin leaving Pittsburgh in some capacity for the first time. Maybe has you reflect on that. But and maybe this win streak has energized Mike Tomlin of, okay, I was able to pull this thing back together. We made this great run. Let's keep building upon that for next year, however this year ends up. But, I mean, Glazer was adamant, Tomlin's not being fired. He's going to return if he wants to come back. He just kept saying, if he chooses. Like, he kept repeating that phrase, if he chooses, almost were like, you talk to somebody newly married. How's your marriage? Oh, the marriage is great. Yeah, the marriage is great. Marriage is great. It's like, okay, who are you trying to convince at this point, you or me? And so just repeating that kind of raised an eyebrow. But we'll see. Let's get through the season. They're in the playoffs. We're happy about that, and we'll take it from there.
Here's the thing. We would know pretty quick, right? Because Mike Tomlin never misses a Senior Bowl, right? Oh,
that's a good point, and that's coming up here pretty quickly. So, yeah, we'll find out here, and I imagine he'll be asked about that in his his last presser after this team is eventually eliminated. Assuming that happens. Maybe they win it all, and we're all happy about a Super Bowl trophy. All right, it's time for a couple more questions. Bryan says, yo, Dave and Alex, it looks like Benton grabbed the fumble rope, punched out. Did he get the stat? That's a good question. He fell on it initially, but Golden, I think, came out of the pile with it. So who got the fumble recovery? You able to look that up, Dave, in terms of who got that second one?
I thought Golden got the credit for it, didn't he?
He came out of the pile. I mean, Benton seemed to fall on it initially. I think it probably went to Golden.
The row one?
Yeah, the row punch out.
All right. They have Golden. I have not gone back and looked at that play, but Golden got the credit for the recovery.
Okay, because Benton was right there first, but at some point in that pile, I guess Golden ended up pulling the ball away. So there's your answer. All right, what else do we have here from you guys? Does Chukwuma Okorafor replace Stan Moore? Would that hurt the running game? No. Okorafor, his bonus is not going to be picked up. They're going to move on from Okorafor and either find a replacement for Moore or do something with him, but Okorafor is not in the conversation.
Right.
TJ won't play. We know what that means. The clock strikes midnight on Mason, and we know what that means. Mike T has a standard for an embarrassing loss in the wild card. That's from Brian Jonker, so he is not optimistic about this game. I mean, I will say, what's the stat? They're 1-10 without TJ Watt, so history does not bode well in these type of moments.
Yeah, but this is a new season. But
Sure.
look, obviously, you'd much rather have Watt in this game. That's for damn sure. You know?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely no question about that. And there was some time to prepare. And again, depth is better this year because the bulk of the time he missed was last year when they had no depth and the pass rush totally tanked. And, you know, I don't think it's going to be as empty without him in this game. Carlos says, after a complicated day in the rain for Warren, do you trust him in the snow? Is this something he had issues with in college? I mean, he literally went to snow college at Utah. I imagine he's played in some bad weather before. It was a poor performance, no question about that. But I still trust him. In a playoff game, he's gotten me this far. I'm not gonna pull the rug out underneath him after one game.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
And I mean, I think he just had some fumbling issues, and that was an issue as a rookie in camp a little bit. But again, you need a guy like Jalen Warren to help rotate, keep Najee fresh, because you're probably running the ball a lot in this game. It can't just be Najee doing it the entire time. Gary says, gonna need a punt block, a block punt, or a punt return to win this one. I mean, they beat him in 21 in part due to a punt block from Killebrew, and so I bet you Killebrew's itching to get himself another one.
Yeah. Any way special teams can contribute in this one could be that final piece.
Even just making the routine field goal. If there's a gusty, conditions and wind, punting, kicking, snapping, those are all going to be, under the microscope if you got 20, 30 mile an hour winds.
Yeah, good point.
Faceless Man, I heard the Deontay touchdown was a new play. Does that give you guys hope the coaching staff might have some big plays drawn up to take advantage of teams playing more attention to Pickens, Calvin Austin breakout? That play, I was watching a little bit last night. It was like the touchdowns they've had to Pickens and what was the other one? It was a touchdown to Pickens against Cincinnati, the 86-yarder, where you get the tight ends or the two receivers on a curl and then the slant flat to the other side. This time they kind of paired the curls with the slant.
Yeah, it was a curl slant. It was a curl slant.
There were two curls on that side. So right. I feel like maybe they kind of almost combined those concepts on that side. I'm not even entirely sure on the new play what that reference is, but maybe somebody had written something. So I want to see that on the All-22. I think you probably have, Dave. I haven't gotten a chance to check it out yet. But it kind of felt like almost a combination of what they had been running to both sides on, say, the Pickens touchdown or the Trubisky failed third down a couple weeks ago against the Pats, and kind of made them to one play on one read to one side, if that makes sense.
That was a nice stunt pickup by Daniels on that play, and Mason put it right down the alley.
Yeah, really good yak ball. Our own Jeremy Pike is here in the chat. Bills fan. Hey. Everyone be nice to Jeremy, though.
Just take it easy on Jeremy.
An FYI, nothing official, but good speculation is that Tyrell Dodson has an AC joint sprain. Once again, not official. Some of the injury guys speculating based off video of the play. So, yeah, Dodson, again, with the Milano injury, especially earlier this year, he's had a more prominent role. We'll be watching him. We'll be watching Gabe Davis's status, the speedy receiver, throughout the week. Any bad weather expected, Tim? I probably mentioned that already. I think it was a higher chance for snow. You had a tweet earlier, Dave, about potential snowfall.
They said something about lake effect, right? So, yeah. So I would imagine it's going to be pretty dusty, at least this far out. I mean, weather can change, obviously.
Yeah, probably not great conditions, regardless of what the exact forecast ends up being. So we'll see how that impacts things. The Pit Stop, I finally made a live stream. Been listening to the podcast for years. Best Steelers coverage in the world. Thank you for the super chat earlier, and thank you for the nice comments. Now, is the Steelers' next head coach working in the NFL right now? From Vegas, I have no idea. I really just have. I'm just focused on Buffalo right now, man.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that either.
We'll see. Randy Wagner, Steelers record is horrible without TJ Watt on the field, but Steelers might have more depth than we've ever had prior to the season. Maybe, yeah, that's the counter to that stat. And listen, losing Watt is still a loss, regardless of who you're replacing him with or the combination of people. But you didn't have Herbig last year, you didn't have Golden last year. You can still get pressure without TJ Watt.
Man, just don't stop the run and don't give up the explosive plays. Make them drive 75, 80 yards. Make it at least hard on them, or put them in opportunities where they're more likely to shoot their own selves in the foot. You're not going to shut them down completely, I don't think. But you can't have like the last meeting against them with the explosive. Do you remember how many explosive plays they had in that game
Last year?
Yeah, let me look real quick. It was a lot of them, wasn't it?
A 98-yard touchdown. So you're talking about quadruple explosive.
10 is on the sheet here, and I don't know if they had maybe because they only listed 10 longest plays in the game book, and they had 10 of 21 or longer in there. So, man, they had the deep middle to Davis for 98 yards, deep middle to Davis for 62 yards, short middle to Diggs for 41. Singletary, remember that run to the left side for 23 yards. The middle to Shakir for 31. They had one for 26, another one for 26, another one for 24. They had that Cook run for 24 yards for a touchdown. Who was on the field for that? I'm trying to remember.
Was that later in the game? Or was that at half? I forget.
That was it. No, it was the fourth quarter. Yeah, it was the beginning of the fourth quarter. I'm trying to remember, instant recall that in my head there. And then there was
some missed tackles, or it was easy. Yeah. It was a very easy touchdown. It was like little resistance on whatever score that was.
And then, to go along with that, you had a Josh Allen scramble for 21 yards.
Yeah, which he is certainly capable. About that third down conversion he had last night, that 3rd and 13, just willing himself across. Again, those are the great plays he'll make. Can he make enough of the bad ones, though, and help balance that out? That'll be the key in this game.
You're not going to win this game if you give up 10 explosive plays. I'm gonna put my analysis hat on there and go out on a limb.
Eduardo says, "Hi, Alex and Dave. Do you believe the Steelers are better positioned than the Dolphins to take advantage of Allen's turnover proclivity?" I mean, the Dolphins forced 3 of them, but they were playing hurt. They lost a bunch of their guys. They had a lack of a pass rush. They were losing their edge guys, and Chubb was out of this game. I think they were down to like 2 guys, including former Steeler Melvin Ingram in this one. So, yeah, I think Pittsburgh is a aggressive, take the ball away mentality type of defense. They've proven that the last 2 years, and so they're in position to make some plays.
Got to get the ball on defense a couple of times.
Yeah, you cannot win this game if Allen plays clean. You just in their place, even with the weather, you're not going to win this game if Allen is a clean sheet. All right, what else do we have here? A couple more questions we have time for. Let me just scroll back into place. Mark asking about, will Herbig step up and cause some problems? We'll see. It's a big moment for him. He seems ready for it, and he's fresh legs. I mean, the one benefit to him not playing a lot this year is he's going to be fresh and good to go.
Yeah, you're going to get some snaps to evaluate here, that's for sure. It's a big moment for him.
John Pennington, do you guys think the team needs a back who can turn the outside corner? I think the run game's looking pretty good right now, as is. I like the power, the bully ball mentality. Speed is fun and nice, and Miami has it, for example, but what they're doing right now in Pittsburgh is working.
They can win with those 2 back there.
Yep. Jeffrey Haynes, why do you think Najee said he needs to get better in his post-game interview? I think he's just wired that way of like, what's next? It's serious time. Okay, we won. Let's go playoffs. Let's try to figure out how we get better. I think he's really kind of had that mature, serious, let's not get too high. Let's not get too low. Let's just go to work.
Yeah, he seems like that kind of guy.
David Van Holt, McDermott and Tomlin know each other being from the same school. Would have loved to see them work together. It's going to be a chess match. Yeah, the William and Mary storyline. They were college teammates, not just going to the same school. They were on the same football field together for a brief time there. So I think McDermott is 3-1 all time against Mike Tomlin. We'll see how that shakes out on Sunday.
We'll hear that story 3 or 4 times the rest of this week.
Oh, yeah. And then during the broadcast as well. Is the Bills' run D good? I've seen they've ranked 28th. That's pretty bad. I have to do some more research on that. I have a stat, though. They are the NFL's worst first down rush defense, allowing 5.3 yards per carry. Pittsburgh in recent weeks over 5 yards per carry. Running the football, been much, much better on first down since Rudolph became the quarterback than they have been really for the last 4 or 5 seasons. And so run the ball on first down, stay on schedule. That recipe is there.
Right.
All right, what else do we have here as we kind of click through just a couple more questions? I really appreciate you guys being out here for the chat. Brian says, who do you got tonight in the championship game? I think we're both taking Michigan, Dave.
Yeah, before we got on, I think Michigan blows them. I think I told Alex, I think Michigan blows them out.
I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that, but Michigan winning all the same. Peter Living Good says, hey, Alex, do you think the Steelers will pull a trick play out on offense? Have not really run hardly any all year. I don't think Eddie Faulkner loves trick plays. It's one of those real big, if it works, you're a genius. If it doesn't, you know the rest of the story if it doesn't work out, Dave.
Yeah, it's results biased. That's for sure. I mean, if they do, it'll probably only be one, and I don't think I think that I'd bet against it.
Yeah.
I think that's an easy thing to do in this situation. There, man. If you got just run the damn ball.
Yeah,
keep it simple. Go north and south, man.
Just bring or dance with who brought you to the party, whatever the saying is, and that's been a run game, taking care of the football, being smart, and I think that continues, especially with the weather being unpredictable. You don't want a receiver throwing a pass
right.
in this kind of
winds.
elements. Yeah, snow. It just seems like not worth it there, but we'll see. What else? People ask about prospects from this game to watch for. I just have not done enough draft work, Dave, to really how do I say this? Smartly. I'm not being smart right now, but be able to give any sort of educated answer in terms of draft prospects to watch.
Yeah,
in this game.
I mean, just the stars that most people already know, without a doubt. I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface on this. I know we have Jonathan Hightritter starting to get into draft profiles and start build the database up for us to start rolling out whenever the season ends there. And then, as is the case every year with Alex and I, we don't start hitting it until right there. Until the Steelers season ends, and it's usually right there at the start of the Senior Bowl. I mean, I've already got obviously some database info cobbled together for the Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl, but it's just laying out more info than anything, and have not gotten into obviously deep tape on anybody yet.
Yeah, give us a month, and I think we'll have some better answers for you by then. Hello Alex. How do you think we stack up against the Bills? How good are our chances? They got a chance. I don't know exactly what percent you want to put on it, but Pittsburgh's got a chance, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's any given Sunday. I think they've got. I think they got a. I would be on the +10. I'll tell you that.
There you go. Mike, Odessa, why not put Patrick Peterson on Kincaid? Just from a size, athleticism standpoint. I mean, any matchup's going to be difficult where Kincaid will have those advantages, but I think you want Minka. I mean, he's your kind of tight end eraser type of dude.
Right.
Steelers by the lake. Alex, since your firstborn is going to be Trevor, people still remembering that. Does your secondborn now need to be King Henry? I didn't make any proclamations here, so there's just Trevor. Just Trevor. Right. Trevor, Henry, Kozora. Maybe I'll go with that. Are you a bit concerned with our prevent defense at the end of the last two games? Seemed to be a bit too easy for the opponent to march down the field. I mean, they got stops on those situations, guys. They held them to field goals. You're going to, let time be the enemy. Let them take the short stuff. Just don't allow the big play over your head. So I have no issue with really how they handle those things, especially when it's not a one-score game. You're up 2 scores on Seattle and Baltimore. So let them kill time and then kick the field goal. That's actually probably exactly what you're looking for besides, obviously, a turnover, a quick stop.
I would agree.
Let's see what else we have. If Henry is released and a free agent, do these organizations try to sign Derrick Henry? No, they're not gonna sign Derrick Henry, John.
No.
Do we know if Minka is coming back this week? He says he will. I would expect Minka Fitzpatrick to be on that field on Sunday.
Yeah, he said he vowed to come back, I think was the report, right?
Right. Is there any chance TJ Watt could return in this game, or am I just taking crazy pills at this point?
Yeah, I would be surprised.
I'd be surprised too, but do you think Tomlin will rule him out tomorrow, or do you think he's going to try to leave the light on, even to play some potential mind games with Buffalo?
I bet he rules him out.
I just want to believe, Dave. I want to believe, but you're probably right. I think he could come back next week. If they win this game and go to Baltimore, I think TJ Watt's playing in that game, Dave.
All right, we'll see. It'll be a good problem.
Yes.
Good problem to have.
Yes, it will. Joey Jr., Dave and Alex, Happy New Year's. What's this Mike Tomlin leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers? Kind of addressed that earlier. Speculation. We can talk about that more after the season, but I whatever it's worth, probably not much, I expect Mike Tomlin to be coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024.
I agree.
Let's see what else we have. I think we're just about out of time here. Let me just scroll through. Quality Colossus here. He didn't know we were live. We are live, but we're just wrapping up. But you can find an archive version of this on the channel, also on Steelers Depot in just a little bit. So going to go watch some college football, the last game here between Michigan and Washington. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Great turnout tonight. Fantastic questions. And so really fun live stream. Be back in 2 weeks. Maybe Pittsburgh's playing. Maybe not. We'll address it either way. And Dave, as always, thank you for being here with us tonight.
All right. Thank you for putting this on. And thank you, everybody that showed up. Pretty good crowd tonight. We appreciate that. And, hey, we're doing one for the playoffs, so there's that. So Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks again, and peace and love.
All right, guys. Again, you can find an archive version of this on the channel. Be sure to check out the site. Ton of content coming your way as we get ready for the Bills game. Wildcard weekend, Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.